Most men don't realize what marriage really is until they're staring at the damage. They think the wedding is the finish line. They think, she chose me. We're locked in. Now I just need to be steady, loyal, a good father, pay the bills, show up, be responsible. That's what a husband does. And yes, responsibility matters. Stability matters. Character matters. But here's the part almost nobody says out loud. The forces that created attraction in the first place don't evaporate after vows. They don't get replaced by a spreadsheet of chores and communication exercises. If anything, the pressure gets higher because the stakes are higher. Marriage doesn't eliminate attraction. Marriage audits it. And the audit is happening constantly, even if nobody names it. Not in a cruel way. Not because your wife is bad. It's just how long-term human bonding works. Every day, your relationship is either gaining strength or losing strength. The idea that you can sign a contract and stop earning desire is the most expensive misunderstanding most men will ever carry. So what separates the marriages where she stays drawn to him for decades from the marriages where she slowly goes cold? It's not a date night hack. It's not a set of lines or tricks. It's not pretending to be someone you're not. It's your internal state, your center, the thing inside you that says, I know who I am. I respect myself. I have direction. I can handle pressure. I don't collapse when emotions get intense. I choose you, but I don't need you to feel valuable. That internal foundation is what keeps a man attractive long after the honeymoon phase dies. And when a man loses it, he can do everything right on paper and still watch desire disappear. The lie that destroys husbands. Modern advice has sold men a dangerous blueprint that marriage flips attraction into pure partnership. That if you become softer, more emotionally dependent, more open, more agreeable, more available, more eager to please, then you'll keep her forever. Some of that advice is well-intentioned. Some of it is useful in the right dose. But a lot of it becomes sabotage when a man uses it to abandon his spine. Because there's a difference between emotional maturity and emotional neediness. There's a difference between being connected and being dependent. There's a difference between being attentive and being anxious. A man can be loving without begging. He can be close without clinging. He can be vulnerable without becoming fragile. But most men don't know that middle path. They swing between two extremes, over-explaining, oversharing, over-seeking reassurance, or shutting down, stonewalling, and going numb. Neither of those builds lasting attraction. What does? Strength with warmth, stability with presence, confidence without arrogance, leadership without control. Now listen carefully, because this is where most husbands get confused. Your wife didn't marry you because you promised to turn her into your emotional headquarters. She didn't marry you because you said you'd ask permission for every decision. She didn't marry you because you planned to become harmless. She married you because something about you felt solid. Maybe it was your confidence, your decisiveness, your ambition, your calm, your humor, your independence, your standards, your backbone, your ability to handle life without collapsing. Call it whatever you want. Edge, frame, center, strength, groundedness. That's what she committed to. And when that man fades, she feels it often before she can explain it. How attraction actually dies in marriage. Most men imagine attraction fades slowly, like a candle. But in many marriages, it's more like a roof that looks fine until the day it caves in. The structure is weakening long before anyone admits it. Here's the pattern that destroys thousands of marriages. In the beginning, he has his own life. He's not chasing her approval. He wants her, but he's not desperate for her. He leads his life with direction. He can be affectionate without being needy. He can disagree without panicking. He can handle her emotions without becoming a slave to them. Then something shifts. Comfort settles in. Routine. Social pressure. Happy wife, happy life. Maybe he gets told by friends, content creators, or even a professional that the key is to be more emotionally available, and he interprets that as, make her the center of my universe. He starts asking for approval in small ways. He checks her mood before he speaks his truth. He measures his value by her reactions. He becomes more and more reactive. If she's stressed, he spirals. If she's distant, he panics. If she criticizes him, he argues like he's on trial. If she's not enthusiastic, he tries harder and harder to earn it back. And she watches this change happen. Not because she wants to punish him, not because she's evil, but because attraction is wired to respond to strength and self-respect. When a man starts living like he's unsure of his own worth, he communicates something devastating. I don't believe I'm enough unless you confirm it. That message kills desire, because now she's not experiencing you as a partner with his own center. She's experiencing you as a man seeking permission to exist confidently, and that flips the dynamic. Instead of being with a man she can respect and relax into, she's being asked to manage his emotional world. Instead of feeling like she's chosen by a strong man, she feels like she's carrying a man who's scared to stand alone. And once that happens, the bedroom doesn't die because she forgot to schedule intimacy. It dies because the emotional polarity collapsed. Appreciation is not desire. A man can be a good provider and still be unattractive. A man can be a loyal father and still be undesired. A man can be helpful, consistent, and responsible and still be met with a cold shoulder. Because appreciation and attraction are not the same system. Appreciation says, you're doing a lot. Thank you. You're dependable. Attraction says, I want you. I'm drawn to you. You move something in me. You can earn appreciation through duty. You don't earn desire through duty alone. And when men confuse those two, they get bitter. They think, I do everything. I sacrifice. I show up. Why doesn't she want me? Because you're playing the wrong game. Marriage is not the end of attraction. It's the place where attraction becomes more honest. Because now she sees you every day, how you handle stress, how you carry yourself, whether you keep your word, whether you drift, whether you crumble, whether you grow. In dating, you show her highlights. In marriage, she sees your operating system, the validation spiral. Let's name the trap. A man starts to feel her desire dropping, less affection, less initiation, less excitement. He senses distance. That scares him. So what does he do? He tries harder. He becomes more available, more accommodating, more eager to please. He asks more questions like, are we okay? Are you mad? Do you still love me? What can I do to fix this? He tries to negotiate desire. And every time he does that, he communicates insecurity. He communicates that his peace depends on her reassurance. That creates a spiral. He needs validation. She feels pressured. She respects him less. He feels it and becomes more anxious. He seeks even more validation. Her attraction drops further. That cycle doesn't just reduce intimacy. It changes how she sees him. The more you chase, the less you're respected. The less you're respected, the less you're desired. The less you're desired, the more you chase. This is how men end up trapped, doing more and getting less. What keeps a wife intensely drawn to her husband long term? The marriages where the wife still looks at him with that spark after 10, 15, 20 years are not built on luck. They're built on a man who kept his center. He didn't become cold. He didn't become cruel. He didn't become distant. He became stable. He knows who he is. He has standards. He has a mission bigger than his mood and bigger than her mood. He can love deeply without turning love into need. He's calm when she's emotional. He's playful when things get heavy. He doesn't panic when she tests. And yes, women test, not as a conspiracy, not as a scheme. It's often unconscious. It's emotional. It's instinctive. It's a relationship's way of checking. Are you still you? A test can look like criticism. A test can look like distance. A test can look like a sudden cold mood. A test can look like provocation. And the question underneath many of those moments is simple. Are you stable, or can I knock you off your axis? If you get defensive, if you argue like you're begging to be understood, if you collapse into insecurity, if you rage, if you sulk, your center is moved. And each time your center is moved, respect erodes. But if you stay calm, present, engaged, firm, not cold, something powerful happens. She relaxes. Not because she lost, because she got an answer. She knows you're solid, and solidity is attractive. The frame, the invisible structure that holds the relationship. Call it frame, leadership, center, whatever word you like. The point is the same. A man with frame is not a man who dominates. A man with frame is a man who doesn't hand over his identity in exchange for peace. He doesn't apologize for existing. He listens, but he doesn't fold. He cares, but he doesn't plead. He's flexible, but he's not shapeless. He can change and improve without becoming a doormat. That's what many men miss. They think improvement means surrendering their spine. But improvement is supposed to make you more grounded, not more compliant. So what does frame look like in daily life? You make decisions and you're open to input, but you're not asking permission like a child. You hold your commitments, training, work ethic, purpose, friendships, hobbies that keep you sharp. You don't negotiate your identity away to avoid temporary tension. You stay emotionally regulated. You don't punish her with silence. You don't beg her with anxiety. You speak directly. You don't manipulate. You don't perform. And here's the key. You don't do these things to get her. You do them because that's who you are. A concrete example, I've seen men who do everything right and still lose the spark. Good father, loyal husband, helps with the house, goes to counseling, tries to communicate, but his entire sense of worth is tied to her approval. He checks in constantly. Is this okay? He watches her face like it's a scoreboard. He avoids conflict even when he's right. He apologizes just to end discomfort. He shrinks his life so she doesn't feel challenged. And then he can't understand why intimacy dries up. Because he slowly turned himself into a man who looks like he needs her to feel safe. Now contrast that with a man whose wife still pursues him. He's not a jerk. He's not absent. He's not playing games. He just doesn't abandon himself. He trains consistently, not for her approval, for his standards. He maintains brotherhood and friendships that keep him honest. He makes time for his goals and doesn't treat his ambitions like optional hobbies. He leads his family with calm direction, not anxious consensus seeking. When she complains or tests, he stays composed. He'll say something like, I hear you. I get that you don't love this, but I'm keeping this commitment. Let's plan our time well. No anger, no begging, no defensive speeches, just clarity. At first, she may push harder because tests escalate when a person is searching for the boundary. But when she realizes the boundary is real and he's still warm and connected, something shifts. She respects him more. And where respect grows, desire often follows. The danger of 1,000 small compromises. Most men don't lose attraction in one big moment. They lose it by bleeding their identity out in tiny cuts. He skips the gym just this week because she wants more time. He stops seeing friends because she feels neglected. He drops his hobbies because it's easier to be home. He stops pursuing growth because it creates friction. He changes his style, his opinions, his boundaries, his standards, so there's less tension. Each compromise seems harmless, but the cumulative message is brutal. I will trade my identity for your approval. And the more you do that, the less respect you inspire. Not because she hates you, because deep down she knows you're abandoning yourself. And if you'll abandon yourself, how can she trust you to lead anything, your life, your family, your future? The most counterintuitive truth, the best thing you can do for your marriage, is to stop making your wife your only source of meaning. A man with no purpose outside his relationship becomes heavy. He becomes watchful. He becomes dependent. He makes love feel like obligation because his emotional stability is riding on her moods. That kind of pressure suffocates desire. Your wife does not want to be your entire world. That sounds romantic in movies, but it collapses real relationships. She wants to be chosen by a man who already has a world, a man with direction, a man with standards, a man with calm strength. She wants to be part of your mission, not the replacement for it. Non-reactivity, the skill that separates men. Non-reactivity doesn't mean no emotion. It means you don't get yanked around. You don't get baited into losing control. You don't let a mood swing decide your identity. You don't let criticism turn you into either a raging prosecutor or a begging defendant. Non-reactivity is emotional mastery, and emotional mastery is rare. Most men are either explosive or fragile or numb. A grounded man is none of those. He feels, but he's not ruled by feelings. He listens, but he's not controlled. He engages, but he doesn't chase. That is magnetic. The balance most men miss, strength and connection. Some men hear this message and decide the answer is to become cold. They go full stone. No softness, no affection, no openness, no humor, no warmth. That's not strength, that's fear in armor. And it backfires because the goal is not to become a robot. The goal is to become stable. You can be strong and still be affectionate. You can be steady and still be playful. You can be decisive and still listen. You can be calm and still be emotionally present. In fact, that combination is what creates the rarest kind of attraction, the kind that lasts. Why a lot of therapy culture advice fails men. There's a version of modern relationship advice that tells men to use their wife as their primary emotional processing center, to constantly unload fears, insecurities, doubts, and anxieties into her lap, to treat emotional expression as proof of intimacy, to seek comfort and reassurance as the main way to bond. Here's the issue. Emotional openness is healthy. Emotional dependence is corrosive. When you turn your wife into your therapist, you risk turning her into your caretaker. And caretaking destroys that polarity. A woman can love a man she takes care of, but it's hard for many women to desire a man they feel responsible for. So the mature approach isn't never share. It's this. Share your reality without outsourcing your stability. You can say, this is hard. I'm carrying. Pressure. I'm working through it. But you don't say it like, fix me, save me, tell me I'm okay. A grounded man processes his emotions, takes ownership, and shares from strength. A needy man leaks his emotions and demands reassurance. Same words sometimes, completely different energy. The marriage is a lifelong test. Here's the sentence every husband needs to tattoo into his mind: the wedding is not the finish line, it's the start of a longer evaluation. Not an evaluation of whether you can pay bills, not an evaluation of whether you can show up physically, an evaluation of whether you can stay respectable, whether you can stay sharp, whether you keep growing, whether you keep your word, whether you keep your center when life hits, because life will hit. Kids, stress, work, aging parents, financial pressure, health issues, routine, exhaustion, conflict. And in those seasons, a man either becomes more grounded or he becomes needy, reactive, and resentful. And those two paths create two different marriages. What having options actually means in a marriage. Some men hear the idea women are attracted to men with options and interpret it in the dumbest way possible: flirting, cheating, acting single, disrespecting the relationship. That's not the point. The point is not disloyalty. The point is a man who could stand alone. A man whose value doesn't come from being chosen. A man who isn't with his wife because he has no alternatives. He's with her because he chooses her. That choice is powerful, but if you act like you'd crumble without her, you remove the sense of choice. You turn the relationship into dependency, and dependency is not sexy. So what do you actually do? Not tactics, not manipulation, standards, structure, growth, leadership. Here's a framework you can live by. 1. Build a life you respect. If you don't respect your own life, you'll demand that your wife give you the respect you can't generate internally. Get ruthless about your own standards, your fitness, your work ethic, your competence, your friendships, your discipline, your mission, not to win her, to become the man you can stand behind. 2. Stop negotiating your identity for temporary peace. If you avoid discomfort at all costs, you'll pay with attraction. Learn to handle tension without collapsing into either anger or apologizing for existing. You can be kind and still be firm. 3. Lead with calm clarity. Leadership is not control, it's direction. Make decisions. Take responsibility. Own outcomes. Invite her input, but don't act like you need permission to be a man. 4. Master your emotional regulation. If your mood is chained to her mood, you're not leading, you're following. Your calm is part of your value. That doesn't mean you ignore her emotions. It means you don't drown in them. 5. Stay connected without becoming dependent. Make her feel wanted, not responsible for your self-worth. Be affectionate. Be present. Be engaged. But don't turn her into your oxygen. The irony that changes everything. The less you need her attraction, the more naturally attraction tends to return. Because neediness is repelling and self-respect is pulling. When you cultivate internal peace, you stop chasing. When you stop chasing, pressure lifts. When pressure lifts, connection breathes. And when connection can breathe, intimacy has a chance to grow again. The cost of getting it wrong? There are men right now doing everything to keep her happy and slowly losing her. They sacrifice the gym, then wonder why they feel weak. They kill ambition, then wonder why they feel irrelevant. They abandon brotherhood, then wonder why they feel lonely and resentful. They become overly agreeable, then wonder why she starts questioning everything he says. They give up their edge to become safe, and then they're shocked when the relationship becomes sexless because they sacrifice the very qualities that created desire in the first place. A man doesn't keep a marriage alive by becoming smaller. He keeps it alive by becoming deeper, steadier, more capable, more grounded, more disciplined while staying warm. The real secret. If you want the core principle in one line, it's this: never make your wife the source of your self worth. Love her, choose her, protect the marriage, be faithful, be present, but build your life so that even if she has a bad day, you still stand tall. Because the man who can stand tall under pressure is the man who stays attractive over time. Not because he's perfect, because he's anchored. That anchor is what your family feels. It's what your kids benefit from. It's what your wife can relax into. It's what makes you a leader instead of a liability. And that is what separates the husbands who keep the spark alive for decades from the husbands who slowly lose everything and can't explain why. Marriage isn't the finish line, it's the proving ground. And the man who keeps his center doesn't just keep attraction, he becomes the kind of man he respects